Hello, everyone. I think we'll make a start, otherwise we'll run even further behind time. Welcome to the session. You can grab your seats. And we'll proceed with this final session of the workshop, which is around capacity development, which has been an emerging theme for the Jameel Observatory over the last couple of years, from the 2023 community practice, when it kind of merged as being something that we really wanted to emphasize. So we've got an interesting session today with firstly thinking about the needs for capacity development, and then having a bit of a table conversation around how we respond to those needs. And then Jeff is going to present this idea of the Dryland Futures Academy, which we've been working on with partners, and then we'll have a series of case studies illustrating various strands of this emerging Dryland Futures Academy. So that's the plan. My name is Alan. I'm with the University of Edinburgh in ILRI, and I'm leading the Jameel Observatory for Food Security Variation. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Rahma, maybe I'll just present the program just so that people are aware of what's coming. So as I say, we'll start with the framing, which is about the need. Rahma is going to present, and Bilach is going to present on behalf of Jarso Moku from the Dryland Capacity and Learning Initiative. And then we'll have some table discussions around the demand, and then Jeff's going to present a potential response, an offer, and then we'll have a few case studies. And then we'll finally, if we have time, we'll just think about how we might operationalize the Dryland distribution effect. So I'll pass on to Rahma for the first presentation. Is it resilience from below?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Rahma.
Thank you, Alan, and everyone. It feels like some people are so far away, but I hope you can still follow. But there are also empty spots at the front, so that's my 30 seconds going to community mobilizing. But never mind.
Do you want me to get people to the?
Yeah, I feel like it would be a nice idea because.
Okay, let me use my moderator's authority. I try and encourage the people sitting in the back tables to come forward and fill up the front tables. So to try and mobilize people, let's all stand up. Yeah, and then those at the back, you can move forward to the front so we have more of a kind of intimate group. Thank you. You're going to keep moving towards the front, those at the back. Thank you, Tahia. There's still some people at the back. Susan, you going to come forward?
Yeah, that's okay. We can start.
Right. Okay, you can resume your seats. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So as you can see here, this is one of our ongoing work with the Center for Research and Development in the Drylands, building resilience from below. And today we are talking about the capacities of drylands people and the actors working in the drylands. So before I begin my few minutes intervention, I thought about what we've been doing ourselves, trying to illuminate the capacities of the local people, thinking about what you will hear shortly about the networks that exist. Who are the people who hold this system together when nobody is on site? Who are the people who manage the knowledge, the skills, pull resources together and, make sure they contact different networks. So thinking about how also actors from outside can draw on this untapped resource and what pathways are we proposing, like as the need of these capacities in these areas. So if we think of the knowledge, the skills, I think these last 2 days, we've heard a lot about networks, social relations, and how it's important for pastoralism. It also appears to many that we are on the same page in terms of pushing for the new narrative. That is not in doubt. and the idea of how pastoralism is different. But there are some problematic maybe spaces and spots we need to be careful about, because if we are pushing for building capacities in the drylands and looking at the people and the actors, the idea of how we proceed and the actions we take must then be different. So we can't say we have new narratives and then look at the needs differently, but when we go to act or engage in projects, we just bring the same old ones. So utilizing community structures, I've heard a lot about that. Creating groups and supporting networks, I've heard about that. Diversification of projects, sometimes that may sound like as co-option. So just a reflection. And so we need to challenge some of these basic assumptions. And one of the ideas we propose, and this is one of the pilots we are running, and others are doing similar things, thinking about the opportunities that already exist within the community. So if you think about the needs, people's own practices, understandings of a generation, this is the idea of resilience from below. Because the standard project solutions, as you've heard in other presentations, they attempt to engineer these imposed alternatives that we are questioning in this workshop together. So the high reliability networks and professionals, and this is an opportunity also to invite you, look at our website, the upcoming papers if you are academics, or blogs if you are not so fond of academic papers, to think about this long established repertoire of knowledge in responding to crisis. But there's also this idea of the need to transform the system over time so that it's not a one-off approach, like a project to enhance resilience or an early warning system that is supposed to solve everything. But the idea is responding in real time, drawing on multiple sources of knowledge, and how does that look like in practice? So this is also an invitation for us to think about those needs and capacities of drylands people, not as a one-off or straitjacket approach. So this is kind of a challenge for all of us. So some shifts are required for us to think about this differently, or even to see the needs and draw on those opportunities. The enhancing local knowledge is a word you've heard. This flexibility and adaptive management, there's a problem here. I think we need to ask ourselves, how can this be done differently? But if we are deploying diverse skills that are already existing, what does that look like? Who are the people who prevent the system from collapsing? Which types of knowledge do they draw from? How can we think of knowledge not just as a way of combining what exists, but politically even thinking differently of a different version of how we can do development? And I'll give an example. There's also an aspect of mobilizing innovations. There are many innovations that exist in these areas, social technical innovations, people working as milk vendors, even in places where there's no road network, but drawing on connections to access fodder. We are speaking about improvisations of even water pumps, people drawing on their own ways of collecting money and moral economy, as we already have heard. But there's the aspect of fostering relations, connections, and networks. How does that look like for external actors? What types of capacities would foster relations, connections, and networks? I think these are interesting points to think about. So these competing knowledges are important in generating reliability. And so in terms of thinking about the opportunities, generating this reliability recognizes that people in different places at different times, these are the kind of flexibility we'd like to think about. And as external actors, we become conveners, facilitators. We're supporting what already exists. And this doesn't mean that external support is not needed, but rather there are different ways in which you can support what people do on their own. Therefore, some avenues for strengthening these local capacities, we are generating evidence on who these high reliability professionals are in terms of early warning. We know that the idea here is not to indicate which is a stronger system, traditional or scientific, but rather to think about these avenues of deliberating this early warning information, because people want to know the options they have, and there's no one straight answer. Some people have funds to track their animals, others would rather just wait and buy fodder. So these are the debates that we would be thinking about. For anticipatory action, this applies. and the same is resilience and the emergency response. We have also been thinking about developing or creating a space where we have an emerging cohort of early career researchers and practitioners who are able to think differently from that. We have a challenge here that we've been mentioning, that most of the things we've been doing have not been yielding any results. We have evidence from some of the work emerging about how failure of this resilience project. And now it's even more urgent because, the aid flow has reduced. Many of the projects have closed and others have, they have reduced their operations. So we are suggesting that in terms of thinking about the needs, we have an opportunity to work with what already exists. Some major reversals are required here. It's not an easy task. And as CRDD, together with other colleague researchers across the globe, we will be coming up with some pilot findings, talk about where we failed or what we saw as an opportunity, and then critically show how high reliability professionals or networks that work in these areas are crucial for early warning, anticipatory action, and humanitarian response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ragnar. That really sets the scene nicely, talking about building on existing knowledge networks and looking for nuanced ways to support without trying to supplant what's already going on. So it's a great starter. Now we move on to Ilash, who is from DLCI, is that right?
Yes.
And is presenting on behalf of Jarsa, who couldn't be here this afternoon, but that's not to underplay Ilash's importance in this proceedings. Which one is it? This one, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am standing in for Dr. Jackson Oku on picking up from Rahma talk from below. I'm talking about from the up now on the leadership side, as well as those people who make decisions on behalf of governments, on behalf of the people, and also the government itself. So I'll be touching on more on the leaders in place, political leaders, as well as executive, and might be in, I'll be more focused on Kenya, but maybe you can relate it to your country. My name is Ilash Dimale from Dryland Learning Capacity Building Initiative. I am the Programs Manager, Policy Governance and Gender. So inclusivity is one of the things I might end up talking about. Anyway, so when you're thinking about, yes, when you're talking about the top, we're talking about the leadership and above. So this in Kenyan context touches on the leadership, the political leadership, executive, as well as also the decision makers in the boardrooms. Concept shift, we need to have some concept shift in that we move away from the technical skills to leadership ecosystems. In this case, we have to focus also on traditional capacity strengthening and also emphasizing on empowering and strengthening the leadership of the pastoralist leaders. Most of the time, we assume that the leaders we have understand or are in touch with the communities on ground or the needs of the communities, or they are also sometimes out of touch with the institutions that are supposed to give the outcomes that are needed at the ground. So then they need to ensure pastoralist leaders are empowered so that they can influence policies, be able to translate it into how much it should be resourced, and also mobilize it and for the initiatives to take place. The other one is on governance and strategic vision. So institutions that are in place need to be strengthened so that we can have clear vision which translate into as a resilient community. The other one is on leadership as a change. We always, the leaders who we have sometimes are there for other reasons. I'm sorry, but I have to talk. Sometimes they are there for other reasons, and they forget what has taken them there, or they do not even know what is happening on ground, because the ecosystem is dynamic, especially for the pastoralist community and also the dryland community. So there is a need to have them be champions of issues. On what are these pillars of leadership that we expect? This political agency. An example of this is the pastoralist parliamentary group. This is a focus of members of parliament from the pastoralist areas in Kenya who come together for reasons of having the same kind of ecosystem, and they realize that the other parts of the country has already shifted and are way ahead in terms of development in these areas. So if they caucus and come together, then they usually make changes in terms of resourcing. You remember that having a huge number of and the number of people influencing something usually pushes it to be one of the things that they look at, and it's usually resource. An example of this is the leadership summit, where some of the resolutions usually make a difference. And this, now the caucus, the reason I'm giving an example of this caucus is that. So strengthening pastoralist-led institutions. Some of the organizations, the leadership, as well as also those people who are vision shapers in the organizations, are usually not well, do not have the good leadership, and also do not have the capacity to lead. There's a need to strengthen not only the capacity of the institution in terms of human resource, we need to have clear strategy for them, and also ensure that they have enough equipment in terms of a way of them reaching the communities that they serve. And the other thing is on strategic communication. Every time we have conversations from the drylands, it's usually doom and gloom. There's no time that everyone talks about our areas being the next big thing. It's untapped. If you look at Kenya's dryland, it's untapped. So there's need to utilize and shape the communications that come from our end. There's also ethical and integrational leadership. This is more on promoting transparency, accountability, and also having the focus being more inclusive. We keep saying the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but we never bring them closer. We never have a way of them picking up from where we left off. This leaves a huge void. So there's a need of intergenerational leadership. On identifying the gaps and opportunities, what are the gaps and opportunities that we have for the dryland at that level? So the challenges in this case are limited understanding of developed programs. This is coming from mostly the political leadership. There are projects that are in place. They know what is supposed to be the impacts and also what it is coming to solve. There's also institutional. You talked about institutional strengthening. This limits the national representation. And on existing platform, there's pastoralist parliamentary group, as I talked about, DLCI, my organization, the organization I work for, is a secretariat to this. So this is a group of 102 members. It's actually 2 years, two decades old. Started in 2008, I guess. So it's an old caucus way of caucusing together, and it has made a lot of changes if you look closely. And then there is also the pastoralist leadership. This is the summit, the leadership summit that brings together members of county assembly. This is the county organization, county governments. Also brings the leadership at national level, both political and also the executive. There's also the Frontier Counties Development. This is a regional block of 10 counties that have come together that have the same dynamics in terms of environmental, as well as the communities that live together, live in those 10 counties have similarities. And they're out of The 15 pastoralist counties, 10 of them belong to that council. And then there is the Kenya School of Government. Kenya School of Government is envisaged to come up with, we're looking at, sorry. So we're looking at Drylands Academy within it, and also there's also the Drylands Future Academy that Maria talked about. We need to ensure that the strategic areas that existing platforms that we should engage. On the last slide, I am really rushing on it. So the strategic action, mapping leadership ecosystem. We need to identify key actors, both formal and informal, in the pastoralist area, design leadership pathways. This is creating mentorship and training for the younger ones and also women and also those who are interested. Then there's meeting leadership program. This is integrating leadership development into resilience initiative. And on monitoring leadership impact, this is where we should check on influences on policies and ensure that the investments and indicators are developed to serve that. Thank you. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you, Laj. Laj only discovered she was presenting these slides an hour ago. It's always difficult to present someone else's slides. So thank you, Laj. And I think that gives the other side of the coin. We heard from Rahma about resilience from below and how we facilitate knowledge exchange and learning at local level, but there's also the other side, which is around leadership. So those are two very nicely complementary angles to this, and I think they'll be picked up a bit in Jeff's presentation. Okay, well, I think that leads us very nicely into the Dryland Futures Academy, which is a little bit trying to do that. So, Jeff, can I invite you to the switch? Sorry for other tables, but there will be further opportunities for sharing later on.
Thanks, Alan.
Can I introduce
Oh, yes.
Professor Jeffson from University of Edinburgh, who has been kind of our capacity development focal point for the Dryland Futures Academy. Jeff.
Thanks, Alan. Afternoon, everyone. My pleasure to be talking briefly about the Dryland Futures Academy, which is all about strengthening capacities for food security early action. Why a Dryland Futures Academy? So those of you here yesterday would have heard me mentioning the fact that Jameel Observatory is very much about partnership, and at the heart of the observatory is our community of practice, which is a very vibrant community of which many of you are members. And at one of our early meetings, we were required to really put more emphasis on capacity development in our plans for the observatory. We know that dryland communities face frequent and intense shocks, increasing in frequency, and skilled people, diverse network capacities are really critical to deal with these challenges, ensure greater resilience, and to prosper, the themes of the meeting this 2 days. Also, we know there are diverse capacities already out there at different levels, as we heard from Bilach and Rahma already, both leadership level and community level. They're out there already, but there are some gaps and some opportunities to join things up. So with partners, we came up with the concept of an academy to provide a focal point and a forum to try and stimulate yet further collaboration and sharing around capacity strengthening for this region and potentially beyond. So as I mentioned, the idea really emerged at one of our early community of practice meetings. We convened an education framework workshop early in 2024. I say we, this was largely the initiative led by my colleague Fiona Borthwick, who's on the far right of the slide. She's an educational design specialist and educationalist par excellence. She couldn't be with us today and sends her best wishes. So we convened this framework in early 24 with a wide range of stakeholders, about 30, 35 people. Again, some of you in the room, some of you will hear from again shortly, to scope the needs, agree a key set of principles. We agreed 7 principles. Number 1 was embracing the essence of pastoralism, recreating this narrative around resilience, prosperity, etc., as we've been talking about. The second one was harnessing knowledge from local communities, so very much connecting to the themes we've heard from already this afternoon. And you can read the other principles on our website. The whole document is there, it's freely available, it's downloadable. We set out learning pathways and competencies. I'll say a bit more about that shortly. And that workshop stimulated quite a few collaborations. Again, some of those you'll hear from. We've published the framework. We have one project you'll hear from Rashid shortly about, which is developing a curriculum with Garissa University. We've collaboration with ILRI. You'll hear from Amanda, supporting some of the excellent work they've been doing in support of extension workers to add some livestock, pastoralist livestock type expertise to that, and contributed to a dryland summer school, as you'll hear from Jackson shortly. So at that early workshop, we identified 4 key pathways. These are probably not the only ones, there are others out there, but there are 4 ones that we agreed on that workshop that we thought we should focus on initially. One was on drylands leadership, so promoting resilience from above, I guess, in the terminology we've been using already. And I know that Guyo, our former leader, was passionate about this, as were DLCI colleagues, supporting people already in leadership positions with fellowships and mentoring through their early career for about a year and supporting that development. Another was on continuing education, providing taught and self-study short professional and technical courses for people at a variety of career stages and in a variety of roles in relation to the drylands. The third strand was academic and formal education. You'll have already met many of our really talented PhD students in the Jameel Observatory, many presenting here today. Most of them are from this region, most of them are in Edinburgh, but we want to broaden that and make those sorts of programs more widely available, both in local universities, but also in partnership with us, based here, not just in Edinburgh, and training for postgraduate degrees and other qualifications. And lastly, community-based skills, this building resilience from below, supporting the sorts of activities that Rahma was outlining before. So those are the pathways. You can learn a lot more about it. We also identified in that workshop key competencies required of potential learners in each of these 4 pathways that speak to the 7 principles we identified in the workshop. We could return to that in discussion if you want to, but you'll find out lots more on our newly available website. We outlined that framework. I should say that we've been able to populate some of these activities, but a key part of our mission in the next year or so is to win more resources to allow this to flourish at a bigger scale than at the moment. We've started this, but it's the beginning of a big and ambitious journey, which we hope you will join us on. Thank you.
So before we leave the stage, and as we move into the case study, so is the Dryland Futures Academy a kind of territorial? Are we closed? Or?
No, definitely not. It's just a holding area, and you're welcome to come into it.
So how would you describe it? Is it a boma or?
It's a boma with very movable fences around it, and expandable boma, or a mobile boma.
An umbrella maybe would be
an umbrella and a boma.
Great. So yeah, I think the point is that we're putting this out there as an idea, and we're looking to kind of crowd in interested people. We already have a few case studies that we're going to present. These are kind of things that we're doing with our partners. They kind of fall into the capacity development area, so we kind of brand them as Dryland Futures Academy to build a bit of momentum and movement around this. So if anyone is interested in capacity development, has things going on that they want to brand with us, then please do approach us. Yeah, good. Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
Okay, we then move on to the case studies. Just need to remind myself what's next. Yeah, so we start with Amanda. I'll try and memorize these so I don't need to do this every time. Amanda, and then Rashid, and then Rosie, and then Jackson, and then Tahira. If you say it out loud, then you might remember it. Okay. So Amanda Rosie is from the Alliance of Biodiversity and SEAT, and she's heavily involved in the AGRA program. So what are you going to talk to us about, Amanda?
Extension curriculum for livestock systems.
Right, the floor is yours.
I like the music next door. I feel like they're singing again. Anyway, hello everyone. Good afternoon. As was just stated, I'm Amanda Grassi from the Africa Hub of the Alliance of Biodiversity and SEAT, based here in Nairobi. Grassi is Italian. It means well-fed or likes to eat. So that's maybe I say to myself why I work in food security. But today, under the session's theme of capacitating dryland resilience and early action, I have the pleasure of speaking with you about some exciting collaborative education related work that the Alliance and ILRI and some other CGIAR centers have done under the umbrella or the BOA of the new-ish Drylands Futures Academy. So, of course, as we just learned, the mission and mandate of the Dryland Futures Academy is to coordinate capacity building within Africa's drylands. So within this context, I'm just going to be talking about the co-development of curricula targeting livestock extensionists, specifically in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Senegal, under the World Bank ILRI project. So that's kind of the topic, extension curricula. So why education? I only have 5 minutes with you, or less by now. So I'd really like to get just to the meat of things and why education matters to those who are working not just with farmers, but also with pastoralists, agro-pastoralists, and livestock systems generally. So rather than citing statistics, I have a great quote here from one of our colleagues from the Ministry of Agriculture in Ethiopia that really sums up the crux of the issue really well, of why capacity development for extension and beyond is so necessary and urgent. So I think everybody can read, but he says the problem of not using climate information to inform agriculture in Ethiopia, and this could be Kenya, Senegal. This is not an issue of not having high quality climate information or quality climate information. The Ethiopian Meteorological Institute has very good high quality information. The issue is about the people who need this information most not being able to understand and use that climate information. And he goes on to say, you know, this is a problem with the Ministry of Agriculture and its extensionists who work most closely with farmers and pastoralists as well, all the way to the level of policymakers who don't understand the importance of climate information. So he says this is why curriculum is so critical. So in other words, in Ethiopia and Kenya and Senegal, where there is very high quality, high resolution climate information sitting at the national level with the national meteorological agencies, it's not necessarily being accessed or used or making it down to people who need it most. And a big part of that reason relates to the capacity of agricultural extensionists to access and use and communicate that information. So what do we do about that capacity challenge? Enter the ILRI project, the World Bank ILRI project curricular efforts. So these are targeted curriculum efforts that take a system strengthening view, and they target agricultural extensionists as well as university students with competency-based training programs that help them to manage risk in the agricultural sector. And so these training curricula that have been developed under this project, they're not so much about theory or longer-term climate change, but really hands-on practical things. Because what we keep hearing a lot, you know, during consultations is lots of curricula out there, a lot of focus on theory, climate change, not a lot of really practical things going on. So we decided to develop curricula for extension and universities, but I'm talking about extension. So the curriculum efforts that targeting extension universities have gone on in all 6 World Bank ILRI focus countries, which you can see on the screen: Ethiopia, Kenya, Zambia, Senegal, Ghana, and Mali. But I'm just going to be talking about 3 of these countries specifically that have co-developed curricula targeting extensionists, not just working with crops, but thanks to Jameel Observatory, also livestock systems. So what is this curriculum I keep talking about? I want to give a bit more context onto a specific curriculum called the CRMAE, Climate Risk Management and Agricultural Extension, that was originally developed to help extensionists working in crop systems help farmers manage climate risk, which again, Jameel Observatory has helped us expand to livestock systems. Just to take everyone back to its origins, in Ethiopia 5 years ago, we sat down with people all along the climate services value chain. So national meteorological agencies who generate information, research institutions who tailor it, ministries of agriculture, NGOs who help communicate it. And we asked, what would it really take to help farmers and pastoralists, adapt to climate change and variability? So we're all pastoralists, as I was just informed, so let me move around a bit. So the curriculum that was ultimately developed had 4 modules, right? So climate basics, exactly what it sounds like, basic climate concepts. We're going to have a whole curriculum on climate risk management. We need to get on the same page about what we even mean when we talk about climate. What is climate change? What is climate variability? What are the local and global factors impacting the climate of Kenya, for example, or Ethiopia? When you hear it's going to be El Nino on the radio, what does it even mean? The second module is more tools focused, so it helps people access and use freely available tools at the national met agencies, map rivers ag data hubs to get location specific information. There's a third module on how this connects to agricultural decision making, and ultimately a 4th module on communication, because it's very good if we have extensionists who are climate literate, we get location specific information, we know how that connects to decision making, but if people can't communicate it, it's really all or nothing. So the curriculum development process relating to those 4 modules went on across all 6 ACRE countries and more than 70 collaborating institutions, again, all across the climate services value chain since 2021. But one common complaint we kept hearing over and over and over again was this curriculum does not include and respond to the needs of pastoralists or extensionists working with livestock systems. So this is why we got involved working with the Jameel Observatory. And there was a very, long, very, very strong unmet demand in these 3 countries to adapt this curriculum for livestock systems. So to meet this demand, we co-organized a workshop with the ACRE project and the Jameel Observatory in April. And we supported the harmonization of this curriculum under the Dryland Futures Academy for Livestock Systems. Some of the key outcomes you'll see on the screen. We agreed on common set of core competencies. We were able to map existing climate information tools and gaps for livestock systems, able to develop country-specific roadmaps for development of curricula, able to understand shared challenges, et cetera, right? So one important thing is, despite these countries having very different contexts, there were very common similarities as well, and things identified by way of competency. So all 3 countries, in terms of, knowledge, skills, and attitudes, which are competencies, all 3 countries said, people need to understand climate impacts on livestock. People need to understand climate smart livestock production, rangeland management. Skills-wise, people need to understand risk assessment, communication of uncertainty, et cetera. Attitudes, people need to have a respect for the pastoral way of life, indigenous knowledge, cultural sensitivity, et cetera. So it's very interesting to see the commonalities pulled out. Definitely won't go into all of this, but we were able to sort of map and see different tools that are available across the different countries to support risk management in the agricultural sector. We had CASMET in Ethiopia and Senegal. We have something called the Colorado Livestock Selector here in Kenya, and SPAI and Wendu in Senegal. So at the end of the day, to cut a long story very short, because I see Jeff is looming, we were able to adapt the curriculum I talked about to the livestock systems in all 3 countries, Senegal, Ethiopia, and Kenya. And we're very, very excited to say that in Kenya, on October 31st of this month, we'll finally be nationally launching that curriculum, which means that it'll be able to be used to help extension staff manage climate risk in livestock systems. It'll be able to be used at all the ACRE colleges, including the Kenya School of Agriculture, some universities, et cetera. But there's always a but. The project presenting it will be more funds for capacity development. That is it.
Thanks, Amanda. That's a great example of kind of thing that can easily sit under the Convened Futures Academy. It's great. And let's see if I can remember who's next. Is it Rashid? Rashid, yeah. Garissa. There we go. So, I'd like to introduce Rashid Warsame from Garissa University. Traveled 7 hours by road on Tuesday, I think. Colleagues from Garissa have been working with us at the University of Edinburgh the last 18 months or so, and Rashid's going to present some of that. Rashid.
Thank you very much. I'm Rashid Warsame from Garissa University. I'm presenting a short course on developing a short course on pastoralism and planetary health. This is a collaboration between Garissa University and University of Edinburgh. And the course title is pastoralism and planetary health. So as you know, Garissa University is a university that is the only chartered public university in Northern Frontier counties. That's the only chartered university in Northern Frontier counties. And this course is very, very important for pastoralist community. Now we want to know why this course. As we know that pastoralist is very vital in Northern Kenya, especially the Northern Frontier counties. Because it is the main source of livelihood and food security. From the statistics, we know that we have about 8 million cattle in that region, the 10 counties. And we have about 3 million camels and 20,000 goats, and about 20 million goats and 13 million sheep in Northern Frontier counties from the KBS statistics currently, approximately. So planetary health is very, very important because the health of the pastoral community is linked to the planetary health, since that is the health of the biodiversity, the natural systems like the soil, natural resources like the soil, water, that health links the community health with the planetary health. Then the other reason is that students need integrated practice-oriented knowledge and skills for dryland challenges. That's why this course is needed very urgently now. And then this course fills a gap in offering a design to meet demand from our community. Part of our wider effort is to raise attention and investment in dryland pastoralists. So we were working together with, sorry to say, I've not said earlier, Dr. Fiona from Edinburgh University. She was supposed to be here, but she sent already. We have an interinstitutional collaboration. One of them is strategic academic partnership between Garissa University and University of Edinburgh. And this one integrates expertise with a regional focus. The other one is focused on pastoral community. And then finally, there is Dryland Future Academy. So GAU will be hosting the local leadership cohorts, workshops, and delivery, while the University of Edinburgh will provide us with platform, quality assurance needed for this course. And then this will promote Dryland Future Academy, which is evidence-based and network. So what is the overview of the course? The course, the design is a course joint initiative between Garissa University and University of Edinburgh, promoting academic learning experiences. Then we have our localized content. The course contents include constitutional exercise tailored for Garissa University students. We have about an average student of 7,000 students currently undertaking different courses ranging from certificate to postgraduate. So we have accreditation from granted by Garuda University, flexible schedule aligned to academic our academic calendar. Then we have an open content. A course content will be available for adaptation and repurposing and reuse across the networks. That's the aim of the course, is to provide students with comprehensive understanding to interplay between the planetary health and the public health, which is the community health. And what is this course enables? It analyzes interdependence between pastoralism and planetary health. It also enables evidence-based, because the course is more of activity-based fieldwork, and it is housed in Garuda University, which is located in Northern Frontier Counties, dryland area. It also advances prosperity and right of pastoral community. Then we have community finding to policy and practitioners audience. What are the learning objectives of this? One of them is to analyze environment, because we live in a very fragile environment. Connect pastoralism and health, because the pastoralism and planetary health, they have to be it has to be connected. Then we have community engaged solution. Everybody here from his presentation, I was hearing community approach, community-based solution is very, very important. And then we have policy, the policy and advocacy and strategies. That's the course content. The foundation pastoralism, planetary health, which is obviously it has an aspect of equity and governance. Then we have aspect of environmental impact through interdisciplinary and cultural competence. We have sustainable development goals and global agendas through field-based learning. We have resilience and adaptation, community-based participation. All these will be assessed through group story map. And then our delivery mode will be hybrid learning structure, hosting platform and localized content. Then we have recognition and certification of this course will be done. The credit will be awarded by Garuda University. Certificate completion will be done by Garuda Quality Assurance Directorate. Then we have eligibility for academic credit will be done by Garuda according to the Garuda University policy. And then we have the official acknowledged by University of Edinburgh. That's our path. October, November 2025, we'll be presenting gathering stakeholders' input for this course. And then we'll have November 2025 to December, we'll have to record our lectures, finalize platform. January, March, we'll have GAU approvals, board GAU approvals. Normally it starts from the department to the committee for the Dean's Committee. Then it goes to the Senate for approval. So it has to follow. And then April 2025, we'll have a specific instance to deliver in person and workshops. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Nice concrete example of the kind of thing that we can do under the Dryland Futures Academy, and a nice collaboration too. We move to the next case study. Remind me who it is, Rosie. My strategy of saying it out loud didn't work. That one, is it?
Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah, that's it.
Rosie Harrington is a Jameel Observatory PhD student, our newest student actually, just started fairly recently, and is going to be doing some work around livestock ownership and nutrition in the refugee camp, although she's going to talk today about some legacy work. Rosie's got kind of a rich experience of many things, but one of the things she did was to work with FAOs and pasture development. So Rosie.
Cool, thanks, Alan. Yeah, so like Alan said, I'm here really because I'm doing this PhD with the Jameel Observatory. But this presentation I'm putting on my other hat, which is that I worked for the last 6 years as a consultant for the FAO, working on a project training private sector veterinary paraprofessionals, or VPPs, as I'll call them from here. Skipping forward. Yeah, with an aim to improving livestock health and productivity. Today, we're talking about capacity development. This is, like I said, about 6 years worth of work, so I'm really just going to sort of whiz through and touch mostly on the methodology of our training. We're currently undertaking the second pilot in Uganda, Nigeria, and South Africa. So why have we done this? Well, as we know, animal health services are critical for reducing the risk and impact of diseases and to increasing productivity. However, there's a gap in service provision in many places, which, depending on the context, can be filled by VPPs. We know that prevention of disease increases livestock productivity, and that as farms become more profitable, they have more income to spend on healthcare services. And so the aim of this project really was for both farmers and VPP businesses to grow synergistically together. This project started with an in-depth needs assessment involving around 400 farmers and 600 VPPs, and it identified that private sector VPPs face many challenges. There's too many to list here, but really a lack of further training opportunities and insufficient business skills for maintaining a sustainable income from their businesses. So from that, the team created the CPD training program, Growing Your Business Through Preventive Livestock Healthcare, to address private sector VPPs' skill gaps and support them to develop successful businesses, providing preventive livestock health services to small-scale farmers and pastoralists. Through the needs assessment, a blended learning program was designed, taking into account the availability of digital learning technologies in the context that we're working in. We always work to minimise the bandwidth needed, so we avoided, for example, use of recordings and other data-hungry mediums. Essentially, we combine flexible, self-paced online learning modules with live calls and an online discussion forum and some short face-to-face workshops along the way. Alongside this, we organise a mentorship programme matching the VPPs with a veterinarian in their county, which is an important means to try and build the working relationship between VPPs and veterinarians. I should mention, as part of this, we ended up with 85 online modules, in which I was involved in creating many of, and the first phase we ended up training 150 VPPs, and in the second phase, which is currently going, we're training 285. This slide is really just a little bit more information on the format, sorry it's a bit blurry up there, but we essentially have 3 6-week online modules, followed by a workshop for each of them. The units, as you can see, is growing a business that promotes preventive healthcare, prevention and control of infectious diseases, and supporting farmers to build a productive herd or flock. And on the right is just a screenshot of the interface. So the VPPs, they can access this content via their browser, via the Moodle Workplace app, and they can download the modules for offline use as well for people who are living in rural areas. So we've only got 5 minutes, and this was a massive project. So just to point out that there were many, many other considerations. Gender really was central to this project, and we had a full-time gender consultant dedicated to only tackling that. Also, the policy and business environment is obviously very important in terms of having enabling legislation for VPPs, and the sustainability of the project beyond the FAO's funding by partnering with local partner institutions and mentoring, as I mentioned before. So to finish, I'll just whiz through some of our M&E results, which was what part of my role at the FAO was. So firstly, the blended learning format was really successful in the end, and I think contributed strongly to the 98% training completion rate that we had, 100% completion rate for the female participants. And here's just a quote from one of the Ugandan trainers from the training institution, which is, initially I was skeptical of online work, but we have learned that if content is attractive and easy to read, we've seen good participation, and going forward, we will employ the use of online learning. Secondly, the online learning component scored 4.45 out of 5 for satisfaction, and I think this is especially because we're working really with full-time entrepreneurs who've got a full-time role, and also female participants as well who've got additional family commitments. And so it's just one quote from one of our VPPs in Nigeria saying that they enjoyed it because they could do it during the night at their own convenient time. Now, there's like a whole host of results, and you might have seen it on some of the webinars that we hosted online, but just to pick out one, we saw quite a considerable increase in the monthly income of the VPPs who undertook our training, especially in women, which can be seen in the blue bar on the right here. When we asked the VPPs if their families were supportive of the training, I like this one quote, which was, in general, they said yes, they were, and we provided extra facilities in order to help facilitate that, but they said they have seen the changes and they have seen the impact. There's also loads and loads of challenges, which I can't go through all of, but in the interest of keeping to Alan's 5-minute timer, I've just got up here some QR codes, hopefully they work. I've spent a lot of time working on these 4 publications. They're essentially lessons learned publications, so they've got a bit of background on the project, sort of the successes of it, and also some of the challenges, so that we can share our experiences with others who wish to run similar blended learning courses. We've got one on the delivery of blended learning models on the left. We've got one on the training and business environment needs assessment, one on the mentorship, and one on empowering women veterinary paraprofessionals through gender responsive training. So yeah, feel free to access those. Lastly, I should just say that I should acknowledge like all sorts of people involved. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded this work. I lost the slide with all of the logos on it, but we've also got the local training institutions, we've got the national teams and those involved in our national multi-stakeholder platform, the global team, University of Edinburgh, World Veterinary Association, Health for Animals, and probably loads more.
Right.
Not finished yet.
Thanks, Rosie. Impressive to see the kind of impact on income. That is impressive. Great. We have 2 more presentations. One from Tahira and one from Tahira, you're speaking, and Jackson. Who's first? Wachira. Yeah. So Wachira was from CRDD, but I think he's changed his affiliation since the last time I saw him, and he's now with the Center for Humanitarian Change. But I think the work he's talking about was during his CRDD days. Is that right?
Yeah.
Great. So tell us about the summer school.
Thanks so much, Alan, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for keeping at it. My name is Jackson Washira, and yeah, I'll speak about the dryland futures that has already been introduced and share some learnings from the dryland summer school that was held in February 2025. And as Alan says, the dryland summer school was held through a collaboration of number of organizations that I'll speak to this later, so I'll not spend a bit of time on that. But currently, I'm working with the Center for Humanitarian Change as a researcher, postdoc researcher, and I just start by observing how great a milestone the Jameel Observatory has made in bringing us all together in this community of practice. And we can probably, be able to share insights that we have, learned, in our previous, affiliations. And, great shouts to my boss, Nancy Balfa, with here from CHC for supporting this. It's great. So, when we talk about academy, we talk about knowledge. We are talking about impact. And then it's important to, recognize that the learnings, the theories, the framings that we have are so crucial that they've had huge influence on how the drylands, interface with policy and practice. I'll spend a lot of time on this, but we can clearly see how certain theoretical framings have had an impact on how policy and practice is interfaces with people in the drylands. We come from far, the cattle complex in the 1920s, the tragedy of commons in the 1960s, both of which really shaped to a great detail the perception and implementation of studies, but also programs in sort of in the rangelands. And for those two, of course, there was the sort of the misrepresentation of pastoralists and drylands as marginal and pastoralists as casually fixated or irrational. And in Kenya, we saw a huge impact of that in the session paper number 10 of 1965. That, of course, have been challenged, by emerging work by people like Roy Van Kay around the disequilibrium ecology, and the emphasis that we should be cognizant of the high variability that exists in these areas, rather than thinking about these areas as stable equilibrium that should move, and get disrupted and go back to stability. And of course, quite related to that is work by Elena Ostrom around institutions and saying, look, no, not like pastoral communities don't have institutions. They do rationally have institutions that regulate resource use. And I think it's got cut here, but I have shared here recent work around critical institutionalism, but high reliability or residence from below. That we've been hearing again and again here around informality and the fact that institutions out there are crucial, but they change, and uncertainty is key, and it's good to consider that. So why is that so important? It's important because at the beginning of the year, we held the dryland summer school with the aim of introducing emerging scholars and researchers to key debates around pastoralism, just as I've just shared there, and provide for them opportunities for peer-to-peer learning, and also introduce them to long-term relationships and networks. And I'm glad to see quite a number of them are actually here as part of this network. So when we did a review of that summer school at the end, we got very, very, very exceptional results with close to 70 of the participants saying that the experience was exceptional, 30%, saying it was very good, but generally having a very, very positive feedback. And in all, everyone felt that the sessions were very, very effective. So I was asked to share from that experience. What were the key learnings? And for me, the first one was really the relationships. That this was really the heartbeat of the experience, engaging with the participants, humbly, cordially throughout the process, and also providing sufficient, space. Here they are actually traveling to the field, but also creating a lot of informal spaces to keep the conversations going. Secondly, is really on the nature of the students, and it's good because it's already being taken up. And for this, what we learned is that it's good to consider diverse group of curious and transformative students. By the time we were finishing the summer school in 5 days, we had more than 5 blogs led by the students. And at the end of the day, they also came up with a declaration that they have been following, and I think they are following on that event today. That is really the nature of the facilitator participants. And here, what we learned is really the need for diversity. Pastoral contexts are not straitjackets, they are systems. So it's good to have representation, expertise from the different domains in pastoral context, be it water, be it health and nutrition, be it natural resources, be it markets, and that was really, really useful. Then fourth is really on partnership. It would not have been possible to deliver the summer school without the collaboration between the Jameel Observatory, CRDD, and of course, the father at that time, the Australian Center for International Agricultural Research. And then fifth is really the venue. That it's great that we are targeting. I mean, we're working with the University for instance, for the course that we are delivering on pastoralism and planetary health. We did the summer school at the heart of the rangelands in Isiolo. You may not have the best experience in terms of the facilities, but it's really proximate to the context. And after all, yeah, these are some of the discovered and experienced areas that you can get the best experience. Like in Camp St. Peter, where we had our summer school. Yeah, and of course, by being very close there, we were able to have experiential learning, going out for field work, and I think in some, this is really what give the participants an unforgettable experience. Can see some of them here, Mohammed from Jijiga, can see Kelvin from Kenya, and it's a testimony that it was really a rewarding experience that we can learn from and scale up. Thank you.
Right. That's inspirational. Sorry, I wasn't there. So, and this, I think this is the genesis of a cohort of curious and engaged scholars, and I think that's partly what Tahira is going to tell us about. So a good segue into the next presentation. So Tahira Mohammed.
CEO capacity.
She is partnerships and engagement lead for the Jameel Observatory. And is this the right one? Yeah, okay, sorry. Just giving away some secrets there. Good, I'll pass on to Tina.
Thank you so much, Alan. Just after I graduated from my bachelor, I went for a job interview to Plan International, and I was asked two questions. What is your strength and what is your weakness? And I didn't know how to answer. So for my weakness, I said, I'm scared of sitting alone. So like they told me, so when we send you to field or somewhere, like, how do you like? So I'll ask my brother to accompany me. So I was so naive, like I was so like telling them that's how I was feeling. What does this mean? Like, I'm just coming from bachelor, I don't have any experience or interview, or I didn't consult anyone on how to answer that question, so I'm just responding. But because I'm also a pastoralist, I'm scared to talk alone. I'm requesting you again, please, for straight, and then so that we can move together. Please, for that to say, I know it's sitting for 2 days, and we need that help for our body. Someone was going to be there for 10 seconds or 1 minute. Amanda, do that, I know. Let me know if you have a spot.
Like a dance, right? Yeah. All right. We're gonna do the Macarena. It's the only thing I know. Does everybody know that dance? Some people do. Okay, you just put your hands out. Put one hand out. Hey, Macarena, Macarena, Macarena. Hey, Macarena. And my little Senegalese brothers and sisters would say macaroni. Anyway, that's all I have for you. I'm not that creative. Okay.
I want to start by reading this quote for you. People find it easier to request for an investment in children's education than a request for a HECFA, as the latter is considered begging, while the former is livelihood support and future investments. This is the big thing, a big thing in the drylands, because many families are sending their children to school, not just because of them getting education, but also because they can support the family, future remittances. And then this leads to pool of graduate students. Where do they end up? Are they employed? And does it mean that when you have a degree, you're automatically employed? How many people get employed and they've gone through this master's, PhD, and all this kind of program? So in relation to this, I want to narrate my own story. For my undergrad, I got admitted to this financial engineering in university. I didn't know what that was like. Am I going to make money? Or, like, I didn't know what that meant. And then my sister told me, maybe change to human resource. And my brother was like, you need 18 years experience for you to get employment. So like, oh my God, what do I do? And my sister by then was doing anthropology. And she was married and she had a family, and she was very relaxed. And I'm like, this one looks easy. So let me just go my sister and do it. So I did anthropology for my bachelor. And then when I was doing anthropology and I go around and I tell people what course I was doing, people ask you, are you studying insect? What course is that? So, like, I just did anthropology because my sister was doing it, because I had no clue what that was. Fast forward, the good thing I did well, and then I was admitted for masters at the University of Nairobi, and I did masters in international relations. What happened also, after that, I looked for a job, I applied for 20 jobs, and I didn't get any. So I consulted someone, it's like a far relative. I called him, I did this course, I have this bachelor, I have this master's, what is your advice? And that person told me, you know what, I'm just coming from Vital, and there's a course they're launching, and it's due in May, you can apply for that. And then I waited for that, I applied, and I got this program called Pastoralism, Resilience, and Strategy. I knew no right on all. I never even knew the name Saturday, to be honest, because I'm so much in my own life. And then I got this scholarship, and then I did my PhD, and today I'm here. Why am I telling you this? The importance of the importance of having someone to guide you through career, because we're talking about capacity. And capacity begins with you yourself. You have a capacity to lead. You have a capacity to mentor. And here I want to talk about the narrative of empty cup. Empty cup, as my role as a mother, I'm always told you need to mother yourself before you mother your children. Because mothering is a new journey. Like it's not a book will tell you to do everything. You just have to learn how to do it. So in this one, you're told you have always have all the characters you need to pass on to your children, you need to have it to yourself. So that you don't fall from empty cup. So if you want them to be passionate, kind, you have to be kind so that you can, that can be reflected there. So in our space, as practitioners, as a researcher, especially as early career researchers, we have thousands of graduates, PhDs, masters. Where do they fall? They have capacity and research, capacities and skills that they need to deliver. Let me give you an example. When I was doing my master's, I met my supervisor once only, one day. I never met him. And that one day, I was taking my book for him to sign. I never met him. So you see, like, what kind of relationship, what assistance and capacity can I see for me to be here? So it means I have to maneuver my own way to learn, to open my space for myself. And this is the reality that many people don't talk about. And this is the reality. You see the figures here, from graduation to desperation. It's something that we don't talk about. And when we talk about capacities, I see there's a big opportunity. We have many places from the region coming, myself being one, and many continuing again. But beyond that, what are the capacities? Almost for those who don't have resources and opportunities to travel abroad and get all the resources. And what do I mean by resources? Access to even literature. We are not saying we don't have access to literature as even open access journals. So we don't access it. And if you don't have network relationship, then it becomes difficult. And for network, someone like Kuyo, who was a former head for Jameel Observatory, I was introduced to him by my former supervisor, very. But if you have this network, this capacity network and association, then I would have known him, I would have asked him of what to do, how to do things, but I never had all these things. I'm getting this after I joined the industry. So finally, what does this mean? My interest is having dryland scholars network. The way we have like Africa Studies Association, for example, UK, Development Studies Association, Anthropological Studies Association, we don't have such in our context, especially the dryland. Maybe there are some in Africa, it's in Africa, I don't know. But what I realize is the dryland space, we don't have that peer-to-peer learning, the social opportunity, where, for example, there are PhD opportunities. Someone would really like to apply for that, and they don't have a network who can guide them, And this is what I wanted to talk about, especially around dryland scholars network. And this thing emerged especially when I was going to the Development Studies Association conference, and because of visa, sometimes they're limited. So if we bring this back home and we have that, for example, biannual conferences and exchanges, and also writing literacy. Summer school is one excellent example because it gives that relationship. I see the long-term relationship that the peers have established. But then what about writing? Because sometimes you see a call for proposal, you don't know how to respond, you don't have a peer to guide you. So this dryland network, scholars network, is something that I really want to explore. And tomorrow, for those who are attending the capacity session, I want us to look deep into this and see where we can take this forward, especially for Africa, not Kenya. Thank you.
That's the so that's an idea. Another idea for the Dryland Futures Academy. A young scholars network